Warm greetings from the High 10. It's Everyday Shenanigans. This commentary is pertaining to the arrest of Trezell and Jacqueline West, the adoptive parents of Orrin and Orson West. They adopted these two African-American boys. And at some point in the lives of all of these people, something went terribly, terribly wrong. And I'm going to bring you the said commentary with different news agents and articles. So we'll probably be a bit lengthy, the commentary that I'm going to play. Thank you all so much for joining me. Welcome all new subs and visitors and the chat. I'm going to start off with KGET News. This is about 8 minutes long, pertaining to what has transpired between the arrest of the two adoptive parents, the process. This live is really pertaining to the grand jury. I wanted to put it in the title, but they only let you only put so many 100 characters inside of the title. But this is basically pertaining to the grand jury. What is the evidence that they have? Because the commentary that I'm bringing to you specifies that there have not been bodies found. So we have to now ask, what is the evidence that led the grand jury to meet, go over the evidence? Also, they were on the ground recently at the said house in Cal City. So when that video went viral, that is true. Those people that were walking the property were grand jury members. As most of you know, the grand jury is secretive. All holdings are secretive. All members are secretive, allegedly. And now that information has been brought to the forefront with an indictment, as they say, you don't have to have a body for an indictment or bodies. It's going to be up to 12 members of a jury to decide the fate of these said two people, if they do believe that they did kill these boys. So we have to also pray that they will find the bodies. One of these participants will talk and tell where the bodies are. But my main question is, what evidence was brought before the grand jury to determine an indictment against the two? This is very, very pivotal information. And I'm going to bring it to you right now, and then I'll go into the press conference if I can pull it up. Thank you all so much for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans. KGET is the source, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon here in East Tennessee.
Jacqueline and Trezell West are waking up behind bars at the Central Jail in downtown Bakersfield, where they are being held with no bail, and their first appearance is scheduled for tomorrow morning. For now, that's the latest live in downtown Bakersfield. Christian Galeno, 17 News.
Christian, thank you. Even after 14 months of intense public scrutiny, we know very little about Trezell and Jacqueline West. Public records tell us Trezell Philip West is 35 years old and Jacqueline Gabrielle Vasquez West is 32. Prior to last night, they had no local arrest records. In the last year and 2 months, there have been dozens of searches and scores of prayer vigils, but the Wests have never been seen attending. There have been 3 social media posts by the, quote, extended West family, but none by Trezell and Jacqueline. A yearbook confirms Trezell was a 2004 graduate of Bakersfield High School. Public records show he held a security guard license that permitted him to carry an exposed firearm from March 2013 to March 2015. The exposed firearm permit was canceled when his guard license expired in 2015. Immediately after Orrin and Orson went missing in 2020, authorities seized the other 4 boys living with the Wests. Since then, they've been in custody of the county, and the county is suing Trezell and Jacqueline for child support. The suit says they have a monthly gross income of about $2,000, but it doesn't name the source of that income. The murder indictments came in the second degree. According to California law, a second-degree murder charge alleges a killing that is intentional but not premeditated, or a killing caused by reckless disregard for human life. The act typically does not have any kind of premeditation and may only have been intended to cause harm rather than death. It's punishable by a prison term of 15 years to life. First-degree murder, on the other hand, is defined as the unlawful killing of a human being or fetus with malice aforethought.
Trezell and Jacqueline West were indicted by the Kern County grand jury. Little is known about those grand jury proceedings, but that's intentional. In high-profile cases, suspects can run, threaten witnesses, or put those around them in danger. In these situations, prosecutors turn to the grand jury. They meet in secret, behind closed doors and tinted bus windows, they listen, investigate, deliberate. And ultimately, members of a grand jury have the power to bring an indictment, accusing someone of a crime.
It's a very good tool for the district attorney to go to in certain cases where they don't want to go public yet. They don't want to disclose who's under investigation.
The Kern County grand jury is made up of 19 volunteers from the community. It's rarely used. Most of the time, prosecutors file charges directly, leading to a public preliminary hearing. But a grand jury's proceedings, when they do happen, are private. Witnesses can testify without fear of retaliation, and prosecutors can avoid tipping a defendant ready to flee the county.
If you're one being investigated, the grand jury doesn't have to even tell you you're being investigated. Sometimes it can be rather dangerous. Someone's under investigation, they can run away or hurt the witnesses.
Defense attorneys aren't present at grand jury proceedings. Their only information comes from the prosecution. That fact has led some to question the fairness of the process. There's an old saying, a grand jury would indict a ham sandwich.
It is one-sided because they tell the jury, what they want them to hear. Now, a prosecutor has a duty to present exculpatory evidence or evidence that would tend to show the person is innocent. And whether that always happens, we don't know.
But in Raimondo's 20 years practicing law in Bakersfield, he says all instances of the current grand jury he's privy to have been warranted.
We never find out what doesn't get indicted. It's almost like, so everything seems to get indicted, but there are times when I'm sure that the grand jury says, no, there's not enough here. And then nobody ever learns about that.
Now, to be clear, police have not confirmed whether the boys' bodies have been found. The grand jury could not have returned murder indictments if there was not proof that the boys are dead, but that proof does not necessarily mean that the boys' remains have been found.
Meantime, 17 News obtained video showing the grand jury outside the California City home where Orrin and Orson were first reported missing. The video was captured by a neighbor's home surveillance camera back on February 9th. Members of the jury are seen scouring an empty field next to the home, accompanied by an official from the Kern County Sheriff's Office. The recording lasts for about 15 minutes, at which point the group is seen leaving the area.
Concerned citizens and individuals eager to do anything they can to help have pledged various rewards that total well over $125,000, but that has been an unorganized grassroots effort.
There are no consistent conditions on what's required to earn the rewards. There's also no indication on how long the reward offers are valid, or even if those offering rewards are able to pay them. 17 News did confirm the California City Police Department is offering a $25,000 reward, but it's contingent on an arrest and conviction. No word yet on whether anyone will collect that reward.
A few weeks ago, 17 News received a tip that led to a weeks-long investigation. Court reporter Jason Katowski spent every morning and most afternoons at the courthouse, specifically Department 1, where we believed the grand jury case against the Wests would be heard. Katowski was in Superior Court yesterday afternoon as Deputy District Attorney Eric Smith escorted grand jurors into the courtroom of presiding Judge Colette Humphrey. Katowski was booted from that chamber after being told by a bailiff that the grand jury proceeding was secret. 3 hours later, Katowski found the charges listed on the court's website and broke this story.
And we've been following this case since the beginning. For full coverage of the California City boys, including exclusive interviews, breaking news updates, and the latest on yesterday's arrests, you can head to our website, kget.com.
All right, that's the sad information coming out of California. Very disturbing information, because as you heard here, you heard attorneys speaking pertaining to the procedures, what is brought into evidence by the state and by the defense attorney. Naturally, the law specifies that it is the defense's job. It's the state's job to prove that he, she, they committed a crime. For those who may not be familiar with the judicial system, the burden is on the state, the government, not the defense. So the grand jury has met months ago. This is probably around the same time we were getting information late pertaining to bio family giving DNA samples, which at that time, when that news came out, I just assumed that they had the bodies. And the one thing I did say in my commentary was that, don't you find it strange they haven't mentioned that they found the children or found remains that are consistent with DNA of the bio family. So now we know that they have not retrieved the children from anywhere, because I will bring you commentary and articles stating that the children have not been found. So now you have to ask yourself, what exactly do they have for them to have gone to the bio family to get DNA? This is very, very spooky to me. Because the logic is, okay, they found some bones, remains. Okay, now we're going to send them to the lab, test them. We're going to go find the bio donors, test them, see if there is a match. So now you have to ask yourself the $1 million question. What in the hell were they matching? This is so baffling to me. This story, it was already crazy over a year ago. Now you're talking about no bodies, but yet you were testing for DNA on something. So what is it? Or is it plural? What did they find in their possessions? Is it things that were seized from the house in Cal City? Things that were seized perhaps from Bakersfield, the apartments? Stay woke. You always leave back remnants from the last place you lived. DNA can still be left at the location where you once lived, such as semen, blood, hair fibers, skin cells, especially if the people who cleaned the apartment up didn't do a very good job. You also can leave behind blood naturally from blunt trauma to the body. Blood soaks through the carpet into the pad underneath. So although you may clean the carpet, patch it up, put in new carpeting, the blood is still underneath. And naturally, if you put in new carpeting, you would see that blood was in the said space. So what is it that they have against Jacqueline and Trezell West for them to have met secretively, go to the location of Cal City, and return an indictment? And you all better hope, including myself, that when this trial starts, the 12 members get it right. Because if there are no bodies by the time these people go on trial, no bodies during the trial or at the time of a verdict, you best to hope somebody is feeling awfully jiggy in that jury box to convict them. Because without the bodies, you know how this can turn out. They could possibly walk. Because you're only talking about 15 years to life for a sentence of second-degree murder. So what do they have against the two? What was the determining factor or factors that led these 12 members to say, yeah, they did something to the children? This is very scary and spooky to me. The fact that somebody filmed the jury, the grand jury, obviously, I'm going to say this. Maybe you didn't mean any harm because you all love filming people. That's what people do. And some of you were watching in the background when all those YouTubers were running over there to the house, filming and stirring up commotion with the neighbors. But you just film what is known to be secretive, which are the members, and their identity is supposed to remain secretive. Now you have them on camera. If anybody can get a good view, a bullseye view of the grand jury. And those are the people who do not want their identities disclosed to the public. Are we talking about also eyewitnesses, testimonies to the grand jury? Did somebody come forward in these recent months to give information pertaining to the children? Do we have a latecomer to the game? Somebody decides to say, well, this has gone on long enough. I know something. Let me go to the authorities and tell them what I know. And that's another thing. Anybody that came forward, that information is secretive because the whole entire grand jury meetings are secretive. So if someone came forward, all that is hush-hush, alongside whatever evidence was brought forward for them to reach a unanimous decision to press forward with indictments for Jacqueline and Trezell West. That's just a little information for some of you. Thank you all so much for joining me. I know what I'm playing on my channel. Thank you. I know exactly what I'm playing on my channel. Lord have mercy. Going to read you information from KGET. Thank you all so much for joining me. Cal City boys, family relieved after hearing of murder charges against adoptive parents. This was uploaded 14 hours ago. It has been over a year that the community has been waiting for justice to arrive. Tuesday, both adoptive parents, Trezell and Jacqueline West, were charged with second-degree murder. Biological cousins to the West brothers, Rosanna Wills, made her emotions clear just minutes after hearing news of the charges filed against 33-year-old adoptive father, Trezell West. Now that the truth is out, and this is the beginning of a long journey to justice, and we will hold every last one of them accountable, Will said. Jacqueline and Trezell West are now under custody with no bail. Both are charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder, 2 counts of willful cruelty to a child, and falsely reporting an emergency. Orrin 4 and Orson 3 were reportedly last seen December 21st, 2020, playing outside the home where they live with adoptive parents Trezell and Jacqueline West. It's a lot for our family. We are losing our loved ones this year, and this is not good. We were looking for a different outcome, but it is a huge weight off our shoulders. But now we got our answers. Now we know who did it. Multiple searches, hundreds of tips, and interviews have led to this moment where many have asked, where are the boys? Both Trezell and Jacqueline West have been booked into the Metropolitan Jail in downtown Bakersfield. They are being held with no bail, and their appearance in court is scheduled for March the 3rd. So they will have a hearing tomorrow. And also, to give you all an update, also transpiring in California, most of you know Scott Peterson is seeking a new trial in the death of Lacy and Connor Peterson. And the woman who is in the front of this mess and saga was a juror, and she's testified the past day or so about her personal life or whatever. So I just thought I'd bring you all that update as well. Scott Peterson is also seeking a new trial in the state of California, for those who had not known. All right, everybody, that source is KGET. That's pertaining to the family speaking. Cal City boys, DA said there is evidence Orson West died before reported missing. This was uploaded 3 hours ago. KGET 17 is the source. Thank you so much for joining me. And thank you, mods, on that. And know that this is a developing story. Information can change at a given moment. Thank you all so much for following the content.
17 News.
Good morning from the 17 Newsroom. I'm Maddie Jansen. We're breaking into programming to bring you new developments in the gut-wrenching case of those 2 little California city boys reported missing more than 14 months ago. Police have now confirmed that the adoptive parents of Orrin and Orson West have been arrested and charged in their deaths. Let's take a look at what we know so far. In just a few minutes, Kern County District Attorney Cynthia Zimmer will be holding a news conference with law enforcement leaders to discuss the recent developments in this case. We're going to take a live look at the District Attorney's office right now. You can see everything is set up there in that room. We are set to begin in just about 4 minutes at 10 a.m. and we are going to bring that to you live. Here's what we know so far. Trezell and Jacqueline West, the adoptive parents of the 2 boys, have each been indicted for 2 counts of second-degree murder, 2 counts of child cruelty, and for filing a false report of an emergency. The charges are official confirmation of the worst fears of thousands of people who've been hoping and praying for the safe return of Orrin and Orson West. Even after 14 months of intense public scrutiny, we know very little about Trezell and Jacqueline West. Public records tell us that Trezell Philip West is 35 years old and Jacqueline Gabrielle Vasquez West is 32. Prior to last night, they had no local arrest records. In the last year and 2 months, there have been dozens of searches and scores of prayer vigils, but the Wests have never been seen attending. There have been 3 social media posts by, quote, the extended West family, but none by Trezell and Jacqueline. A yearbook confirms that Trezell was a 2004 graduate of Bakersfield High School. Public records show he held a security guard license that permitted him to carry an exposed firearm from March 2013 to March 2015. The exposed firearm permit was canceled when his guard license expired in 2015. We're taking you live now again to that press conference as we await the beginning of the news conference from District Attorney Cynthia Zimmer. Again, we're expecting this news conference to discuss these charges that were filed last night against both Jacqueline and Trezell West. We're going to learn a little bit more about that this morning. Defense attorney David Torres joined us on 17 News at Sunrise to talk a little bit about the charges that the Wests are facing. Again, those are two charges. Of second-degree murder each, and 2 charges of child cruelty, in addition to a charge of filing a false report of an emergency. Torres addressed the charges of second-degree murder as opposed to first-degree.
If there was a situation where these children perhaps were either beaten on an ongoing basis, or something happened where, because of the action of the defendants, these children suffered as a result at the hands of their parents, then more likely than not, that could be second degree as well. The thing with child abuse, those cases are very difficult, because if you do prove that particular charge, a person can serve up to life in state prison.
Again, as we said, the Wests each face 2 charges of second-degree murder, 2 charges of child cruelty, and a charge of filing a false report of an emergency. They were indicted by the Kern County grand jury yesterday. Over the course of the 14 months since they were reported missing, concerned citizens and individuals across the community and even across the country have been eager to do anything they can to help. They've pledged various rewards. People have put up billboards. In fact, the reward in total comes to well over $125,000. It's been an unorganized grassroots effort, however. There are no consistent conditions on what's required to earn the rewards. There's also no indication of how long the reward offers are valid, or even if those offering the rewards are able to pay them. 17 News confirmed the California City Police Department is offering a $25,000 reward, but it's contingent on an arrest and conviction. All right, we're going to take you back out live to the attorney's office. There is a DA Cynthia Zimmer walking up to the podium there, and we are expecting to learn a little bit more about these charges being faced by Orrin and Orson's adoptive parents, Trezell and Jacqueline West.
Good morning. My name is Cynthia Zimmer. I am Kern County's district attorney. I have information about Orrin and Orson West, the 2 young boys who were reported missing from California City 14 months ago. On December 21st of 2020, Orrin was 4 years old and Orson was 3 years old. Their adoptive parents in California City, Trezell West and Jacqueline West, reported to the California City Police Department that the boys had disappeared from their backyard. The California City Police Department began a search for the boys in the area around their home. After a period of time, the FBI joined in the search, as did the California Highway Patrol and search and rescue from the Kern County Sheriff's Department. The community also came out to assist in looking for the boys, but to no avail. They were not located. 1 week later, crucial information came to light that necessitated the involvement of the Bakersfield Police Department and the Kern County District Attorney's Office. Law enforcement worked diligently, hundreds of hours in the next 12 months, looking for the boys. This morning, I'm saddened to announce that the investigation has revealed that Orrin and Orson West are deceased. The investigation has also revealed that they died 3 months before their adoptive parents reported them missing. However, I am pleased to announce that this week, the Kern County Grand Jury indicted Trezell and Jacqueline West, the adoptive parents, for the murder of Orrin and Orson West. The indictment charges 5 counts. The first count is murder. Charges them both with murder, with the victim being Orrin West. The second count charges murder, with the victim being Orson West. The third count charges felony child abuse against the person of Orrin West. The fourth count charges child abuse against the person of Orson West. And the fifth count charges false report of an emergency. Naturally, the first 2 counts carry the most time in state prison, murder. It is charged as murder in the second degree. That carries 15 years to life, but with 2 victims, the potential penalty or the maximum possible penalty, if convicted, is 30 years to life for each defendant, Trezell and Jacqueline West. Now, the grand jury indictment is a formal charging document, and we followed a process in charging them before the grand jury, and that was the district attorney requested that the grand jury convene to hear evidence regarding an indictment that we presented them. The district attorney's office then presented information to the grand jury, and the grand jury found there was sufficient evidence to hold Trezell and Jacqueline West responsible for these murders, and they returned what was called a true bill. So oftentimes we call it they were indicted, but what they did is returned a true bill on the indictment. Department 1 Superior Court judge issued warrants for the arrest of the defendants, and they were arrested last night at about 7 p.m. in Kern County. They are currently in the Kern County Jail waiting for an arraignment on the indictment, which will be tomorrow. There will be no preliminary hearing in this case because an indictment is a substitute for a preliminary hearing. In this case, we'll proceed directly to trial. The announcement of an indictment in this case probably raises a lot of questions about the facts of the case and what you and the public would like to know. I'm not permitted to go over the facts of the case in this case, but there is something I'd like to discuss because the facts of the case are to be what we produce in the jury trial, because we want both the prosecution and the defense to have a fair trial in this case. However, one of the questions that I'm sure you would like to know is, have the bodies of Orrin and Orson been found? And the answer to that is no, they have not been found. However, I would like to emphasize that the fact that law enforcement have not found their bodies does not preclude a murder prosecution. As a matter of fact, there have been many hundreds of what we call no-body homicides prosecuted across the United States successfully, and even no-body homicides have resulted in murder convictions in Kern County. I'd like to introduce the people who are standing here with me today, who have been crucial in bringing this case forward. Eric Smith is the person to my right here. Eric Smith is the supervisor of the homicide unit at the DA's office. Next to him is Brian Estep, also a homicide prosecutor in the DA's office. And these 2 gentlemen are the people from my office who presented the evidence to the grand jury. And this grand jury hearing began 3 months ago in December of 2021. Mr. Smith, would you like to come say a few words?
On behalf of myself and, of course, Deputy District Attorney Brian Estep,
We'd like to thank the allied agencies who worked tirelessly throughout this investigation. That includes also the current Regional Crime Lab and also the DA investigators in this case. Kern County law enforcement worked together at first in an attempt to locate Orrin and Orson West. And as that continued, it turned into an investigation into the disappearance and ultimately the homicide of the two boys. The lead investigative agencies, Bakersfield Police Department, California City Police Department, they worked tirelessly throughout the course of this over a year since this occurred to follow up on leads and complete the investigation. Investigation that was continued even throughout the grand jury hearing. The indictment itself took approximately 3 months. Over 50 witnesses testified during the course of the indictment. Much of those witnesses' testimony was extremely emotional as it related to this case. But that's to be expected from a case that involves the murder of two innocent children. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. To my right, to my left, are two chiefs of the lead agencies in this case that did most of their work. Bakersfield Police Chief Greg Terry and California City Police Chief John Walker. Chief Terry, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. This is not the outcome that we and so many had hoped and prayed for over the last year. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the families of Orrin and Orson who, with this news today, their worst fears have been realized. I want to express my pride and appreciation to our homicide team who invested so much personally and professionally to find the truth in this investigation. We now realize that the search for the boys began after the real tragedy had already occurred. But it is the work and diligence of the...
Well, sorry about that, you guys.
Investigators, our partners, California City Police Department, the FBI, the National Center for many other law enforcement agencies, community members, our own community members, and members of the public. That diligence, that refusal to give up is why we are here today. I also want to express my appreciation to our District Attorney, Cindy Zimmer, for her leadership and for her commitment to the safety of our families here in Kern County, no matter how difficult the case. We also would not be here without the teamwork and support of the District Attorney staff. They provided invaluable support to our investigators, perspective and advice and counsel along the way. Again, we would not be here without that support as well. The last thing I would say is this is not a resolution in this case. And there will not be a resolution completely in this case until these boys are brought home.
Thank you, Chief Terry. Chief Walker, would you like to address the audience?
Good morning. Thank you for being here. Let me emphasize, first and foremost, this is a tragedy, an absolute tragedy that was reported in my city, that two small boys could be killed by their parents. But I do have to say how proud I am of my department from the second we got the call until we brought in so many resources, and we're very grateful for that. But the second we got the call, we were on scene. We began to work it and look for these kids. And we had so many agencies involved, Kern County Sheriff's, Search and Rescue, CHP came with their helicopter to help us. But the citizens of Cal City came out in numbers to look for these kids. And it began to grow to the outlying communities and eventually across the nation. We were getting people who were interested and they wanted to know where these kids were as well as us. And then eventually Chief Terry and the Bakersfield PD came in to help us out, and they've been instrumental to make this happen. So I want to thank all those people again for helping us to...
Sorry about that.
But again, the bottom line is we have two small boys that we believe are no longer here that are dead, and that's terrible. But again, I want to thank the District Attorney, Cindy Zimmer, for being brave and diligent to push this forward and actually bring this case to the surface. So we will push forward. We haven't given up, and we'll continue to give them any kind of help that they would need in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Walker. While the defendants in this case, Trezell and Jacqueline West, are presumed innocent, the securing of a grand jury indictment is a major step in ensuring that there will be justice for Orrin and Orson. This case has tugged at the heartstrings of people in my office and in law enforcement and in this community. It is a horrific tragedy that these precious little boys had to lose their lives. But I want to thank everyone who was involved in this case, law enforcement officers. It must have been so difficult for them who searched for Orrin and Orson, the community members that came out and helped search, and then the community members that just continue to care about what happened to them. So, if you have any questions, those are the end of my comments. But keep in mind, there are ethical restraints as far as what we can talk about prior to the trial in this case.
Well, let me try to.
Thank you. I think he had his hand up first.
Thank you, District Attorney. How can we confirm that the boys had died 3 months prior to their reported disappearance? Their bodies haven't been found. Can you kind of explain how that works?
No, I cannot, but I can tell you the facts in court will show that we were able to prove that to the grand jury that the boys have died, that they were murdered, and we did that through a combination of direct and circumstantial evidence, and the grand jury was convinced that they were dead. Thank you.
Given that you say that they died 3 months before this was reported, and the fact that Trezell and Jacqueline lived in Bakersfield and then moved to California City, Chief Walker, do you believe that can anybody say whether Orrin and Orson were ever in California City to begin with?
Mr. Gaspar, that's a good question, and that's something we're going to answer during the trial.
Can't say more than that.
We cannot go into the facts of the case.
As far as trying a case with the body, because since I assume you don't know where the boys are. Is that
We
right?
don't know where their bodies are. That's what I said.
Okay. So you don't know where their bodies are. What will that present kind of a difficulty in trying this case without a body? Public out there, and at least some that I've run into say, well, they can't try somebody without a body. How are you going to do that?
As I explained in my earlier statements, no body homicides are tried all the time. And we have evidence that was sufficient to convince the grand jury, and we have sufficient evidence that we believe will convince a jury that they are not alive. And we have evidence.
Have you tried a case here without a body before?
Yes, we have tried to successfully, at least that I know off the top of my head. I have those names, the Leonard Bryce Thomas case and the Daniel Rhodes case, successful murder convictions. And there may be more, but those are the two that I can remember. Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about why second-degree murder in this case rather than first?
No, I cannot. I can't really discuss the theory of liability in the case because that would involve the facts.
And then also, I'm so sorry, one more question. Can you talk a little bit about why you guys decided to go down the grand jury route and attain that rather than the average procedure?
We try, I've done over 20 grand jury indictments myself throughout my career. It is something that we commonly do on homicide cases, which involve calling live witnesses. And also sometimes we do it because there has to be a little bit of starting and stopping regarding scheduling. A preliminary hearing is continuous. You don't have start and stops. And at a grand jury hearing, you can do 2 days of testimony, 1 week, 1 day, so there are a variety of reasons that we considered in this case. And a lot of, if you look back on some of our high profile homicide cases, most of them did go to grand jury. Yes.
We have unconfirmed reports that a white RV was pulled over by law enforcement yesterday at Highway 43 and Highway 58. And some were saying this was possibly where Trezell and Jacqueline were taken into custody. Are you able to confirm that? And also, near Potomac Avenue, the neighborhood where Trezell and Jacqueline have been living with his parents after they moved back from California City, there was a helicopter with a searchlight going over around, I want to say, 7, 8 o'clock last night. Can you confirm that that was looking for Trezell and Jacqueline?
The defendants, Trezell and Jacqueline West, were taken into custody last night around 7 p.m. by the Bakersfield Police Department in western Kern County.
How did that happen? How did you find out that the Winnebago that was there? We had spotted it earlier in the day in Edison. And then it was the same Winnebago that you guys found yesterday. How can you say what tipped you off that the Winnebago was there at Enos Lane and Highway 58?
No. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
What does this say about providing a background process for adopting parents in Kern County?
Ma'am, it's not the job of the district attorney to talk about those types of things. It's the job of the district attorney to look and see if a crime was committed and bring those guilty parties to justice. Yes.
Are the defendants cooperating, and have they admitted to any wrongdoing?
I can't discuss. That is absolutely prohibited. Any type of statements by the ethical canons that attorneys are required to follow. I won't comment on the evidence specifically. I won't comment on statements. Yes.
Are these the only arrests that are going to be taking place in this case? Is there plans to bring in anybody else or to arrest anybody else involved in this?
If I had those plans, I probably wouldn't tell you, but I can't tell you anyway. It's a good question. I don't need to be tried, but I'm not going to comment on that. Yes. Go ahead.
We do know that Orson and Orrin were 2 of 4 adopted kids. They also had another 2 biological kids. Any idea of the whereabouts of the other 2 adopted kids and the biological kids as well? And were there any signs or prior signs of prior abuse in the household with the other 4 kids?
I'm not able to discuss that, but it's not like the other 4 are missing. They are in the care and custody of the Child Protective Services. Yes.
For Trezell and Jacqueline West under surveillance for a considerable amount of time before you made an arrest?
I cannot answer that. I mean, I know, but I shouldn't be answering that. Yes.
Have you spoken to the biological parents of Orrin and Orson since you learned of this news? And if so, what was their reaction to this finding?
Well, Mr. Smith has had contact with some of the biological family in this case, and I would have to defer to him about that. Our office, grand jury proceedings are secret. They are confidential. They are not to be revealed until after an arrest is made in this case, and in any case. So we will, now that there has been an arrest made, we'll be able to talk to the family of the victims more so. But even before that, we weren't able to really go into detail with them, although I can tell you we have had contact with the family.
Was it a unanimous vote with the grand jury to bring forth the indictment?
I don't think that's something that can ever be revealed. I think that's confidential information in the hands of the grand jury. I can tell you that there was sufficient number to do it, or it wouldn't have been a valid indictment. But whether it was unanimous or not unanimous, I don't know, because they don't tell us.
Can you say which legal counsel will represent the suspects?
They will be arraigned tomorrow in court, and if they cannot afford counsel, they will be appointed, or if they want to retain counsel, they can do that. So we don't know. We won't know in the criminal matter who their attorneys will be until tomorrow morning.
How do you guys plan to bring this news to the biological family? Obviously, we're saying you guys have given confirmation that both boys are diseased as well, but there's no concrete evidence showing this. It sort of feels what's been going on for almost the past year, where the family and the community has sort of been left without any answers. And that constant question has been brought up, where are the boys? And I mean, you're saying there's concrete, confirmation that they are diseased, but how would you guys?
It's called a jury trial, sir. That's where we will prove that they are deceased, and and the grand jury has already found that they are deceased, and we have presented evidence that. As far as the news that went to the biological family, I think the news did that last night. I think you were out at the scene with the biological family before we were even had the defendants in custody or had an opportunity to do this press statement today. So as far as news to the family, I think that I think they already know. Yes. And just a couple more questions, please.
Could you talk a little bit about the sentencing for the other two charges, the local cruelty to the child, what's kind of the average for that as well?
Well, what that term carries is 6 years, correct, Mr. Smith? 6 years.
And would that be changed because there's 2 counts of that, or?
That's kind of a complicated sentencing question. You look to see if the conduct supporting the homicide charge, and you take what's called it's a determining sentencing of whether or not you get any more time on the child abuse cases counts if they're convicted on the murder, and it depends on the facts and circumstances.
Okay.
I have a question for Chief John Walker. You did submit your resignation recently to the department to resign as chief of the California State Police Department. Can you give us a reason, why you decided to resign from the department, your plans, or so forth?
I think that really has no bearing on this, so, I'd like to stick to the subject, but yes, it's I've been there for 2 years, I've done my best, and it's time for me to move on.
Are there any more questions? One last question. Yes?
I know you can't say how the boys were murdered. I understand that. Can you say if you believe you know how it happened, though?
No, I can't say anything like that. We are prohibited from going into the facts of the case. And obviously we know what the facts of the case are. I can't go into anything further than that. And just invite you to cover the trial in which the facts will be produced. So thank you very much. Thank you for coming today. Thank you for your excellent questions. I hope I was able to answer them to the extent that I could. You all have a very nice day.
And you've been listening to a news conference by District Attorney Cynthia Zimmer. You've been listening to a news conference by District Attorney Cynthia Zimmer on the arrest and indictment of Jacqueline and Trezell West for the murder of Orrin and Orson West, 2 little boys reported missing in December of 2020 from California City. Zimmer says the investigation revealed that the boys were actually killed 3 months before they were ever reported missing on December 21st, 2020 by the West's adoptive parents, Trezell and Jacqueline West. While Zimmer says the boys' bodies have not been found, she says that her office did present evidence to the grand jury that the boys were indeed killed. The Wests lived in Bakersfield prior to moving to California City. Shortly into the beginning of the investigation, once the boys were reported missing, Cal City brought in the FBI and eventually passed this investigation onto Bakersfield Police Department, which then became the lead agency in investigating the case. This case resulted in an indictment from the grand jury for both Jacqueline and Trezell West. That indictment came down yesterday. DA Cynthia Zimmer revealed today that grand jury hearing actually began about 3 months ago in December. So it's been a lengthy process. The fact that there was a indictment by the grand jury means there will be no preliminary hearing, and instead this case will proceed directly to trial. Jacqueline and Trezell West, who you see right there on your screen, they gave this interview just days after the boys were reported missing. They were arrested last night just west of Bakersfield around 7 p.m. They are both due back in court tomorrow for arraignment. We have so much more on this case. We've been following it since day one. You can find exclusive interviews and further details on our website, kget.com. We also have breaking news updates and the latest on yesterday's arrests. Again, kget.com. We will, of course, have much more on this story today on 17 News at noon, and then, of course, tonight on 17 News at 5. In the meantime, I'm Maddie Jansen from the 17 Newsroom.
All right, everybody, hold on 1 second. Okay. All righty. If you want to hit the link, just hit the link, and I'll be with you all shortly. One moment, please. All right, everybody. Sorry about that. I was having some repairs done, so I had to talk to somebody. I'm going to go ahead and chop it up and get started. I see the person up here is wanting to join the chat. Just 1 minute. Let me chop up my commentary because it's a lot to bring. Oh, Lord. Thank you all so much for joining me. If you'd like to donate to the channel, $ began G129 Cash App. All super chats are welcome in the live. Thank you all for the wonderful super chats and donations. Thank you all so much. I'm going to go ahead and get started because it's a bit winded. Number one, what will be the plea tomorrow in court? Will they plea? Will they have an attorney or attorneys present? Jacqueline and Trezell West. What will be their plan plans as far as revealing the truth? Will they go ahead and tell the truth? What they did to the children? Where the children can be found? Because as you heard in this commentary, the children have not been located, but the district attorney has evidence to support their findings that the children are deceased and were deceased 3 months before they reported the children missing in December 21st. So what is the evidence? That's the title of this video. What is the evidence? What do they have? What will the plea be tomorrow in court with these said participants? Oh, mercy. I got so much. She says we have direct proof and circumstantial evidence that we brought forth to the grand jury. As I said, what is it? Trying the case without a body. She brought evidence that they have tried successfully cases without a body. She can't go into the facts of the case pertaining to the children ever making it to Cal City or not. That was asked by a reporter. So since we don't have a body, who's to say that the children made it or didn't make it to Cal City? See, that's what's going to be the interesting part of the trial. Reasonable doubt. The state is going to have to prove those kids never made it to Cal City and also were deceased before the family moved to Cal City. And I pray and hope you have something ironclad, because what will be the emotional, disturbing part of this case, besides believing the children are dead or thinking the children are dead, those two get off, because you are going to have to show the court, which she said that throughout this commentary, she has direct proof that the children are dead. What is it? DNA? Like I said earlier, somebody left something behind at the old apartment, old house. You took something, put it in storage, such as dirty clothes, bloody clothes. What do you have? Because my thing is, something direct would have to be like blood. Blood, saliva. Because phone pings, that ain't going to mean nothing when you're saying I've got direct proof of death. Once again, they have tried cases without a body and were successful in the court of law. What is the evidence? Once again, who will take the blame for the deaths of the said boys? Will they turn on one another in court? Will one say it was this one or that one? Or will they both take the blame, or will they both enter in not guilty pleas in court? Do they have evidence of both harming the kids? They said they do. They have direct evidence of ill intent to the children. What is it? Not feeding them, not sending them to the hospital, no doctor's appointments, eyewitness testimony, because as you heard, eyewitness testimony to the grand jury is also secretive. So do they have people telling them things about what they were not doing with the children and were doing with the children that would be deemed neglectful? Many of you questioned why the grand jury process. She mentions that it is common for them to take information to the grand jury to seal a grand jury indictment. And most commonly, this is done with homicides. And I think most of you have heard that when someone has been murdered, you'll hear that the grand jury met and brought back an indictment to bring forth charges against the said party or parties. Where are the boys? Where are they? Because if we're to believe that they never made it to Cal City, then that means they are discarded somewhere, possibly near Bakersfield or outside. Who's to say they're not even in the state of California? Most of you know who live in California and are familiar with demographics of America. You know the California neighbors several states such as Oregon and Nevada. Mexico. Where are the children? Very, very interesting information. All righty. Income. What is their income? that was mentioned in the commentary I brought you earlier. $2,000 a month. What are these two doing or were doing before arrest to generate $2,000? How long have they been living in that camper RV? How long was it parked out there in the general area? Many of you questioning about the RV. That was mentioned in commentary that someone heard a conversation with Trezell in a store. He pretended not to be Trezell West, I believe, and someone followed him out of the store and took a picture of the RV and the tag number, posted it to social media. People got to talking. Then they deleted the post allegedly, and now fast forward, March 2022, we have an indictment, an arrest of the said parties, I believe, off of that Highway 55 at that said RV. How long were they living in it? When did they buy it? What is their income? We also know that they are to be paying child support to the state. Have they concurrently paid child support to the state as recommended? Did they fall off? Hell, were they even on the run? Ask yourselves that. Why were they living in the RV? Could they not rent an apartment? Not enough money? Too much trauma to rent an apartment? Knowing people would find them? I think that's the reason why they were in an RV. They didn't want to be trailed. They didn't want to be found. They didn't want people coming on the property. Because look what everyone did. YouTubers, wannabe sleuths, were all on the property at Cal City. All that running around to Bakersfield, to Casa Loma, harassing people, trying to get information from people. No way they were going to try to rent an apartment in the state of California, knowing you would do your Google search and try to find them. It is what it is. Did somebody give a tip recently pertaining to the case of child neglect and or the fact that the children are no longer alive? Because as I said, in this commentary that I play for you, you will hear that the district attorney, out of her own mouth, she says they do not have the bodies of the said children. So that means what? Do you have also eyewitness testimony alongside whatever evidence you have? Is eyewitness testimony the evidence? I saw them do this. I heard they did this. They told me they did this. They mistreated the children. They abused the children. They didn't feed the kids. What is the evidence? Are we now talking about walkie-talkies telling information to the district attorney authorities about Jacqueline and Trezell West and their dealings with the children? All children. And of course, what did the children see, hear? Are the children witnesses to the information? Well, I would assume that would have been told day one. Because naturally, detectives are going to talk to the children, ask them things about this child, that child, how they're being treated by their parents, who all was staying in the house with them, when was the last time they saw the boys. That information would be asked in the beginning of the investigation. The reporter asked about more arrests. The DA said she could not comment. He also asked about abuse of the said children in the household. She didn't give an answer. He also asked about surveillance. Were law officials surveying Jacqueline and Trezell West? She still didn't give an answer. As she said, everything you need to know will be revealed during trial. Mercy. Cannot wait for that. She also made it known, while he and others were asking these questions, that what they have is concrete. And that information was brought forward to the grand jury members, and those said parties all unanimously voted to indict Jacqueline and Trezell West on the said information. Okay, make sure I got everything. Chief Walker resigned as the chief of police, and the reporter asked him, why did he resign? And Chief Walker kindly lets him know that his resignation has no bearing on the information at hand and why he's there to speak, and that he did his best in this short while, as 2 years, as the chief of police for Cal City, California Police Department. Someone asked about how did it happen? Because before that, the reporter said, well, I know you can't tell me about the evidence. And she let it be known She knows what she knows about this case evidence, but she cannot say. But they do know the facts, which led to them bringing forth the information to the members of the grand jury. When they get the facts, they will let everybody know. Once again, when the trial commences, they will give the said information. The information that has been given to the grand jury, will it prove without a shadow of a doubt that Jacqueline and Trezell West did indeed kill the two boys, harmed the two boys, willful intent of neglect, deliberately calling 911 to file a false police report? That is now going to also come into question because we do not have bodies of the said children. So everything that has transpired with the West family leading up until yesterday will be very pivotal in the trial, because the state has the burden of proving that these two people killed these children months before December 21st, neglected the children, bring forth information that they neglected the children. That is their burden, not the defense. And naturally, the defense's job is to refute all allegations and anything that is allegedly a burden of proof against their defendant. Will they plead guilty or not guilty to the said charges, which are 5 counts that was listed in this audio by Cynthia Zimmerman, the District Attorney of Kern County? Thank you all so much for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans. You're up. Unmute your mic.
Hello?
Yes. If you'd like to join the panel, please hit the link listed below. Thank you all for the donations. Thank you, Nay. Thank you, Christy. Thank you all so much for following the content. This is going to be a very interesting trial, because God forbid there are no bodies brought forward by the time these two go to court and during trial. You have to now rely on not the district, not the grand jury. Their job is done. The job now will rely on 12 members of society to form an opinion against the two parties that they killed the children intentionally. That's second-degree murder, either intentional and or by accident. You did harm to the children, which caused their death. First-degree murder is premeditation of the said murder. Let me read to you what a true bill is. I'm learning all this as I go along myself. Thank you all so much for joining me. She mentions a true bill in this case against Jacqueline and Trezell West. A true bill is a bill of indictment found by a grand jury to be supported by sufficient evidence to justify the hearing of a case. What is meant by a true bill? True bill, also called true bill of indictment, refers to a decision to indict a criminal defendant by a grand jury. Grand juries are used by the federal government in all states except for Pennsylvania and Connecticut in some capacity of criminal indictments. Why is it called true bill? A term endorsed on an indictment to indicate that a majority of grand jury members found that the evidence presented to them was adequate to justify a prosecution. What is a true bill and a no true bill? If a true bill is issued, the grand jury files an indictment, which is then transferred to the Superior Court's calendar for a jury trial. If there is not enough supporting evidence for the alleged crime, the grand jury endorses a no bill, which results in the charges being dismissed. So a no bill are the results of charges being dismissed. A true bill is showing evidentiary material to justify a prosecution of the said parties. Does a true bill mean guilty? The grand jury does not determine guilt or innocence in a case, and thus a true bill is not a conviction, only an endorsement of the charges that were presented to the grand jury. How much does True Bill cost per month? True Bill is a free app. I don't know why they sold that. Anyway, let me go on and see what else I got on here. Okay. What is a no bill in a criminal case? This phrase, endorsed by a grand jury on the written indictment submitted to it for its approval, means that the evidence was found insufficient to indict. So that means you can bring information before the grand jury and they will issue a no bill, which means there was not sufficient evidence to try the parties in a criminal case. Okay. What bills can True Bill negotiate? Okay. I don't think they're showing me that. Hold on. Let's see what I read. What does the term mean in court? The space of time during which a court holds a session. Sometimes the term is monthly, and others it is a quarterly period. According to the constitution of the court, the whole term is considered as but one day so that the judges may at any time during the term revise their judgments. That is the set information for those needing to know what a true bill is and a no bill. True bill is evidentiary material to bring forth an indictment against a parties. A no bill means there's no sufficient evidence found to try the said person. Thank you for joining me. Hit the link if you want to give your commentary pertaining to what is the evidence brought forward by the grand jury. That is my topic for today's live, because they have adamantly said there are no bodies. So that would have to be the $1 million question on most people's minds. Then what evidence do you have to say concretely that you believe Jacqueline and Trezell West murdered these children? You're putting forth a second-degree murder charge and also neglectful charges and filing a false report to law officials, which is a misdemeanor in the state of California. 5 counts she mentioned inside of this indictments by the state of California against Jacqueline and Trezell West. Thank you for joining me. I don't know if it's guilty or not. It depends on the evidence left behind, real deal. So we don't know what the evidence is. I have no idea. I'm not a lawyer, nor am I a detective, so I can't say. Thank you for joining me. This is a panel discussion. As I said, make it worth the while, make it worth my time. You have something you want to say pertaining to the evidence. That is what this topic is about. I'm not veering into other uncharted territory pertaining to Jacqueline and Trezell West, because all that's passed to me. I'm not here for any rumors and speculations. I'm here for what is obvious. They gave a press conference. They do not have the bodies of the children. So I'd like to know what is the evidence that they have that issued a reason to go before a grand jury and they said yay. What is it? Well, that's the said information. Maybe somebody spoke up. Who was the someone that spoke up? Well, there are a lot of times that people take people to court and they don't have enough. Even though the grand jury met and decided on the evidence, but when it plays out in court, it's an entirely different situation, because now you're hearing the evidence, you're seeing the evidence, allegedly, and it's up to you as an outsider, the judge, the spectators in the court, and the 12 members, most importantly, the 12 members. They will be the ones to decide, is this good evidence? And a lot of the times, evidence that is entered into court, such as this trial here, will be circumstantial as well, because you don't have the bodies. So therefore, the evidence that they have, it needs to be ironclad to seal a guilty verdict. I know what the DA said. This is a question. Lord have mercy. Thank you, pretty girl. Some people obviously are not following the content. That's to be expected. Very good point. Maybe the biological children saw something, perhaps. But then that leaves one to say, as I said, you know, they spoke to the children initially in the beginning. Wouldn't an indictment have come down sooner than March 2022? Right. That's my point. I'm assuming if the children had saw something, then they would have done that. They would have brought forth an indictment earlier. Maybe one of their kids stopped lying. I don't know. I have an earthly idea. If you'd like to give your opinion, you're welcome to join the panel to give your said commentary. For those coming into the chat, both parties, adoptive parents, Jacqueline and Trezell West, are in the custody, Kern County, and they will go to court tomorrow, and we will see what plea they enter. I do not know what evidence they have. That's the reason why I'm asking that question, since they don't have bodies. What do they have that warrant the grand jury to give up an indictment on the two said parents? I agree. If one of the children were witness to an incident, an indictment would have brought long ago. Yeah. Because it shouldn't have been a problem if you believe the children, what they said happened to the other children. Also, naturally, they've asked those kids how they were treated by the said parents. So now you have to ask, what is the evidence and what is it that deemed them neglectful of the said children? What evidence is that exactly? Not taking them to the doctor, not feeding them. That's information I think would have come out in the very beginning of the investigation. Unless they have ironclad evidence, I think they will plead not guilty. Yes, Annie, I think they will plead not guilty because they're narcissists. So they've been lying all this time. They never went to any vigils, any searches of the children from the first time they gave their commentary to the news. So they have been walking freely on the earth doing whatever they wanted to do. I don't see them going to court tomorrow and saying, yeah, I'm going to tell you everything. Yeah, we're guilty. Yeah, here's where we put the kids. They know that they don't have a body. They know that. Everybody talks. People talk. Their parents talk. They hear things. They know what they did with the kids. They know they ain't found them to their knowledge. So perhaps they will hold out and say, well, they ain't told us they found the bodies. So why the hell are we going to volunteer telling them where the bodies are? Well, why would I do that? It is very telling when the bio dad was asked for DNA, Ellie was on the trail at that point. Yeah, but see, that's the part that doesn't make any sense. You're going to go ask somebody for DNA, but yet now you tell us months later you don't have any bodies. So that leads us to believe that something was left behind and it was discovered that has the children's DNA on the said items, garments, or whatever the evidence is. That's what my question is. What is the evidence which led the forthright of this indictment? Andy, there's a lot of places you can bury a body, sweetheart. You got to remember, these are small children. You can discard a child easier than a grown-up. Hello, Mode. How you doing? Thank you for joining me. Thank you all for joining me. There's no telling what the bodies are. I thought they had the bodies. That's what I thought all this was about. When they went to the bio family for DNA, I just assumed there were bodies. But I knew something wasn't right because they never aired a news story that bodies were found. So first thing I thought was, why in the world would they be asking the family for DNA? But we don't hear a story that they found any bodies that are believed to be those of the boys. So that's when I knew something wasn't right. Yes, many ways to discard a body. Well, I think I've played you just about everything pertaining to this trial, this upcoming trial. So far, I just want to make sure I found everything I could bring to you all pertaining to this case. But it is what it is. TK, I'm not really sure, honey. That's the whole point of me asking. I have no idea what the evidence is. I don't know where evidence was found, either in the new house, the old apartment, a storage facility, cars, vehicles, vans. I have no earthly idea. But that's the question that I pose in this commentary, is the fact that there are no bodies. What could the evidence be? I wouldn't even want to try to even come up with an idea. I'm just throwing out possibilities. But that is the thing that struck me interesting pertaining to this case, is that no bodies have been discovered, because I wasn't expecting to hear that. I thought perhaps they had bodies, but something told me, like I said, months ago when I found out that they talked to the bio father, I thought, well, why wouldn't they tell us that they found bodies, or remains rather, excuse me. Well, that's my whole point, is that children can be disposed of, anywhere. Children have been found in the most mundane of places, and also barren places, odd places. That's the whole purpose of concealing a body. I don't want you to find the body. So I'm going to do my best to make sure I hide the body well, so you don't find it, so you don't come back with an indictment. But that's the thing about trying to plan a crime, whether it was premeditated, spur of the moment. 50 ways to kill a person, 100 ways to get caught. You just don't really know. Real deal, I don't know. I really don't know, sweetheart. They'll have to do an autopsy naturally if they find the bodies. As Crystal spoke last night, saying, when remains are found, it is up to the person that's conducting the autopsy to determine the manner of death. So as she said, you could go out in the desert, fall out, pass out, have a heart attack, whatsoever. Once they get the body, bones, let's say, they can usually tell if the bones are intact, possibly how the person died, especially if it's homicidal, such as trauma to the body, different parts of the body. They can tell if a leg was broke, arm broke, neck broke. Naturally, the head, the skull will have indentations of being hit with an object. Oh, Lordy. Hello, Marie. How are you doing? You all don't have to bicker in the chat. Everyone's entitled to his or her opinion. Just try to be respectful in your commentary. Thank you. Thank you, so. Hit the link if you want to give your opinion. This is a very important case. Breaking news. You all have talked and gossiped about this case for a year now. Why not give your opinion, be heard? Let people hear what you have to say pertaining to the case. Instead of messaging me nonstop on YouTube about who got arrested, who said what. That is the purpose of me bringing forth the information and having you all hit the link to give your opinion so you can be heard. Because it's not really beneficial to, message the creator back and forth on the YouTube posts and comment box of information. Did you hear? Did you hear? Did you hear? Did you hear? Yes, I heard. I've been heard yesterday. I just didn't comment. I didn't respond. I was doing things. So here's your opportunity. You want to have people hear what you have to say pertaining to the children. This case, basically, I'm not really trying to get into far off the beaten path pertaining to the case. My topic mainly is pertaining to the evidence. What do they have against Jacqueline and Trezell West pertaining to evidentiary material? That's my main question. Yes, I hope there will be justice. But I don't know what to think at this point without the bodies. I know that cases have been tried without bodies. We know this. That's why I'm curious to what they have. Let me see what else I can find pertaining to this. Here is more information by KGET. Thank you for joining me. Since nobody wants to hit the link to give their opinion, Lord Jesus, I've never seen anything like it. KGET News is the source. This was just uploaded 1 hour ago. Thank you for joining me.
Breaking news from 17 News.
17 Newsroom. I'm Maddie Jansen. We're breaking into programming to bring you new developments in the gut-wrenching case of those two little California city boys reported missing more than 14 months ago. Police have now confirmed that the adoptive parents of Orrin and Orson West have been arrested and charged in their deaths. Let's take a look at what we know so far. In just a few minutes, Kern County District Attorney Cynthia Zimmer will be holding a news conference with law enforcement leaders to discuss the recent developments in this case. We're going to take a live look at the District Attorney's office right now. You can see everything is set up there in that room. We are set to begin in just about 4 minutes.
Okay, this is information I already played. Maybe they're just recapping this. I thought maybe they were getting ready to tell us something else. Let's try to find something else pertaining to this story, because most of you have already played that, but each are facing 2 counts of second-degree murder, as most of you know. And the boys went missing December 21st, 2020. KGET News, if you want to source for the information, just tune in to the station. And also ABC 23 also has commentary pertaining to this case. Thank you all so much for joining me. And I have posted said information to my community board pertaining to the disappearance of the children and any updated stories. I thank you all so much for following the content. But as I said, I don't have any new information as of yet pertaining to this case. We'll have to wait till tomorrow to see what the two will plead in court. I don't know if they're going to hire a private attorney or not to represent them, or if each will get their own attorney, or if they will have a public defender. That is also another question. How will they plead? Will they plead guilty or not guilty tomorrow? Will they continue to be narcissists and not own up to what they've done to the children? Where they placed the children, how they treated their other children. Imagine the other children, how they feel about their parents now. They're going to eventually find out that their parents are standing trial for the murder of their adoptive brothers. What is going on with the family? Miss Wanda and her husband. Will there be information to bring forward that they are also involved in this crime, had knowledge thereof, of the children being murdered 3 months? What is that evidence of the 3-month rule? What do they have to say ironclad? I know they were dead 3 months before December 21st, 2020. Are we talking about medical records? Children not showing up for doctor's appointments. Children not coming and going out of the apartment. Naturally, apartments have surveillance cameras. Do they have evidence to show the children never were coming in and out? Month September, month August, whichsoever. They're coming out of the house with 4 children only, going in the house with 4 children only. See, surveillance can also be evidence. You're going and coming in Walmart, Target, Dollar Store, McDonald's with 4 kids only. So how does that look? I've got surveillance of you month for month in different establishments in Bakersfield, California, outside Bakersfield, with only 4 children. Now you come running to the police saying someone perhaps abducted your children, but I've got evidence to show you've been walking around town with 4 children only. Is that possibly the evidence that they have against Jacqueline and Trezell West? Critical says they're going to plead not guilty. Critical Crime, would you like to give your opinion here? You're welcome to hit the link. If you want to verify the said news coverage pertaining to this case, the press conference by the District Attorney, Ms. Cynthia Zimmerman, please log on to KGET News in the YouTube queue. It's a 31-minute video, and you can get the said commentary there if you like verification of the information that she brought forward. Thank you all so much. I see Chris is live. Woo, what a mess. What a mess. An absolute mess. As I brought you information pertaining to a true bill, no bill, for those of you who heard Ms. Zimmerman mentioning this inside of the commentary, true bill means they brought forth information to the district, to the grand jury, that they had evidence to show that these people harmed the children. A no bill means not sufficient evidence to press forward with an indictment. Thank you. Finally, somebody, my God.
I'm sorry.
They complain endlessly.
I know. I was sitting. I was wringing my hands. I was like, "Is somebody gonna go up?"
I mean, but it's really ignorant behavior to me, because to message. I can go in my notifications. There are countless of messages yesterday left on my posts pertaining to what was transpiring in California. Yet you go live and they act like they can't hit the live. They can't hit the link. I don't understand it. So why are you messaging me to tell me what happened in California? Then when I go live, I give you the opportunity to speak, but yet you don't want to speak. You want to just continuously chat and leave me hundreds of messages. I mean,
yeah, I'm not an outgoing person either, but I enjoy your content. But I had a big concern at the first, when I first saw the parents do their first interview. That was fishy to me. And the whole story about, like we've all gone over, the children, just going while he's getting firewood or whatever, and she's in the house wrapping gifts. I thought that was just shady from the get-go.
Yeah, let's talk about the evidence. What is the evidence? What do you think the evidence might be that she has made it clear, Ms. Zimmerman, that it's ironclad, and they brought forth that information to the district, to the grand jury members. They voted yay. So we will wait to see what pleas they will put into court tomorrow. But I'm very curious to the evidence, because let me tell you something. Everybody is different. You're trying to put 12 people in a box and come to one conclusion. If you don't have a body, that's going to be very, very scary. Trying to prove to these people they killed their kids and bring forward ironclad evidence to show that they murdered the children and also neglected.
I can't hear anything.
So I beg your pardon?
That these people harm the children.
Cut your background down. So that's what my concern is what is the evidence? Are we talking about eyewitness testimonies of the neglecting of children? Did they tell somebody they killed the kids? Did they tell somebody where they hid the children? I mean, the disposal of the children. Are we also talking about children's testimony to the detectives that they saw them do something to the children, discard the children? Were they eyewitnesses to the crime? But then my hindsight is saying, well, how could that be? They would have already brought forth an indictment a year ago. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I believe it's a myriad of different things. I think it has to do some with their children.
Okay.
They might have found some blood evidence. They can do all this without a body, like the Barry Morphy case.
Yeah.
But I just think that maybe they've been watching what they're doing, and things to that sort. And
critical thinking, you're gonna have to turn down your background. You had background playing.
And not only that, if you had adopted children, why wouldn't you be wanting your biological children back as well? It didn't seem like they were making any steps.
But you can't get back. Listen. You don't really critical.
I can't hear anything.
Yeah, I hear stuff in the background. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. See, this is what you got to understand about this mess here. I don't have to give you your kids back.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what they have investigated, the state. See, the state is going to go back and talk to everybody that knows you. They're going to also check medical records. They're also going to check doctor visits. They're going to go back and see when the last time you took the children to the doctor. They're going to, any type of complaints against you. And that's when they will form their decision as far as letting you see your children and or dissipating all your rights to the kids.
Yes, but I was just curious if they had taken any steps, trying to get their children back.
They may have, but they may have.
Manner.
Naturally, they were secretive people. They're not like the whales that talk all the damn time. You understand?
Yeah.
But the whales still never told you what they did to get their children back. And I think it's obvious they didn't do anything because one's in jail and one's streaming live off of her own cell phone computer and other people's lives, showing you she's not caring about doing anything, because that's the whole point. All the time you're spending going live and talking, you could be working a job, taking courses online, or going to a schoolhouse getting an education instead of going live, and your child is missing and your other kids are in the state's care.
Yeah, I understand all that. I don't believe that excuse me, either of the Wells want their children back.
Right.
I don't believe that.
Critical thinking.
Excuse me, either of the Wells.
I can't do this. Okay, go ahead.
She's having some technical issues.
But everybody knows how this goes. You cannot have YouTube playing on your phone or your computer while you're trying to live stream into the panel.
Correct.
Okay, Ann says they'll plead not guilty. What do you think what the plea will be tomorrow?
I think they'll plead not guilty.
Of course.
I think that they'll try to tap dance around it and
yes, of course.
Say there's no bodies,
right.
Still with the same
right.
script, kind of like the Wells,
But that's the whole point, is that, as someone said in the chat, you've been lying an entire year. So why are you now just going to wake up and say, yeah, I did it, here they are? You ain't got nothing. I ain't telling you nothing. I'm just going to sit in court and watch and see what you got. And then I'll decide what I'll tell the lawyer pertaining to the evidence that you bring forward in court. If I decide, hell, I want to go and do a plea or, excuse me, however that goes.
Well, any smart lawyer will tell them to do the same, probably, unless they have a conscience, which it doesn't seem like they do. Just shut up, keep with your same, repertoire, your same story. And see if the state can, bring forth such evidence,
Yeah. Lord.
But I do feel for the biological parents. I really do in that family. But, there's reasons why their children were taken away as well. So
yeah. That's where a lot of people don't like to put, except that the children did belong to somebody else before getting with the West family, and they were taken for a reason. And the other children were also taken out of the household besides the two that are now deemed deceased. And that's something nobody wants to acknowledge, is that there were a total of 4 children by the bio mother that she had, and she doesn't have custody of neither child. So right, this story does start with who they came from, and people don't want to own that, but how could you not? Because that's how these children end up getting in the custody of these nuts.
Yeah, it's just from the beginning to the end, it's just a sad.
Yeah. It's like they didn't have a chance. The children didn't have a chance, and I'm going to say that because it's the truth, and that's what's sad about all these cases. The children didn't have a chance. How cruel could that be, to be living over here with somebody that brought you here, and they're not treating you right or putting the wrong company with you to get you hurt, harm, and then out of the state's into the state's care. Now you're going over here to this house, and then there should be some hope at the 2nd, 3rd, 4th place. And then you look up, here's a report that the children are missing. Then it's a little over a year later, you get information the children are deemed deceased and that the adoptive parents have murdered them. That's fucked up.
Yeah, it is.
That's just fucked up.
Unfortunately, it's that way all across here in America. There's not enough families to take in these foster children. And then when they do find a so-called quote unquote family, this thing happens, I don't know if he had anger issues. We don't know anything about these people's backgrounds. If he had anger issues, how they got the children, if they took courses,
Yeah, so well, they're secretive people, so they're not going to come out and tell you anything. They didn't tell you anything, but the one day they spoke to the news. So anybody with common sense knew that was suspicious. You didn't search for the children. You didn't look for the children. You didn't do anything. And now all of a sudden, you just out of nowhere, boom, you're being arrested. And they know how to keep quiet. They've done this for a year. I mean, you know, the person in the comment section made a very valid point. You've been lying for a year. You've got lying down packed. It doesn't matter what they show in court. It doesn't matter if somebody shows them on a video carrying a tub somewhere, dumping it. They will have an answer. That lawyer will have an answer in that damn courtroom. You can believe that.
You better know it.
How you doing, Mr. Hunter? How are you?
Hey, I'm just happy to hear the news.
I know. I've been waiting for you, honey. I said, I know my friend gonna come up here and say something eventually when I go live. You didn't come on last night, but I went live last night briefly.
Yeah, no, I was asleep, but I heard the news and I damn near did a backflip.
I know you did. You have to go back to the beginning of the studio to get all the information that I played. So
I've been listening. I heard a bunch of it this morning, and what you was talking about earlier today. And as far as the evidence and all that, they have to have something.
Okay, but John, let's chop it up. Let's keep it real.
All right.
Some people are going to want a body. So what do they have? Because if it's any reasonable doubt, it takes one person to hang that jury. Yeah, one.
That's all.
That's all it takes.
I don't know what it could possibly be unless they possibly came up on some type of DNA, some blood, something, you know, with something, you know, something that got one of them boys bodily fluids function. Something is on there somewhere. They've came up on something.
Yeah, and that's what my question is in this live is what is the evidence that the grand jury said yes to press forward with an indictment for Jacqueline and Trezell West? But they said, the lady says, I've got proof of death 3 months beforehand. Proof
that's what's killing me.
3 months, man. I just
3 months before he even reported him missing.
Stunned. That's why I said, who's to say that it's surveillance as well? You're walking around without your kids. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that one floored me.
Yeah. Because we all were pondering that when we didn't get newer photos of the children. I said she got rid of the photos. She didn't have no photos probably in her phone. She probably never took pictures of the children, which leads you to believe you either premeditated the murder or something popped off. You want to get rid of all the evidence pertaining to the children. So you're not going to know because we don't know them and we don't know really what happened with the kids.
Yeah, and I started thinking they never made it to Cal City.
Right. And what was the motivation for adopting the children? So when they took the case back to Bakersfield, that's when people started probably thinking, okay, the children never made it to Cal City, naturally.
Because that's a hustle. The foster system it's a hustle for these people.
Sadly it is. Sadly for some people it is. And I mentioned that in my live last night, that there are some people who have that type of mindset, therefore making money by all means necessary and taking in children. They got people in the community food thinking they love kids, like kids, but they're doing what they've been doing, favoring one child over the other and getting a little bit of money. You know, some people argue that it ain't a whole lot of money, but we do know in the state of California, you all are paid more than most citizens in America. Your housing costs more. Your mode of living costs more. So naturally, the stipend for the foster care parents and the adoptive parents will be more than what a foster parent will get down here in Tennessee. Because your cost of living is higher in California.
Yep. And what I understand, it's like $1,500 per child.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So it varies depending on if they have mental disabilities. I brought you commentary on that a year ago. Everything depends on the state of the child versus what the parent will receive for the child in foster care. 2, you also get a stipend from the state if you adopted the children out of foster care as a foster parent. So Jacqueline and Trezell also got a smaller stipend when they adopted the children. So they still were getting money for the kids. May not be the original amount. But then now, if you say it was a hustle, then somebody would say, well, hell, they would make more money just leaving them as foster care than adopting them. Unless there was something else brewing for a reason to adopt them. Did they really like the children, thought they would be good parents, and then something went terribly wrong? Because adopting them doesn't really make any sense if it's for the hustle.
Yeah, for real.
Well, think about all the money that they're getting too from the government for the children in general.
You mean the other two kids?
The child tax credit or you know.
Yeah.
Where you get the money every month for children.
Yeah, but he had to have a job.
But you have to have a job, right? You got to have a job for that. We don't know when they last worked. The last payment, shit's coming out from 15 about gun permits and this and that. We really don't know anything about these people. And right now they're claiming $2,000 a month in income. That was not relayed what the income is. It's looking very grim that these people are possibly hustlers. But the part that you got to make sense, because you got to remember, this is getting ready to go to court. You got to prove I'm a hustler and I adopted these kids, because somebody's going to sit there and say, well, why would they adopt them when they could have made more money keeping them as foster children? So that would lean in the favor of Jacqueline and Trezell in court, because this is what I was telling you. There's always going to be that one or two people who are going to say to themselves, show me and prove to me that these are diabolical people that intentionally killed these kids, because when they start laying out how much it costs to keep the kids, all that's going to be laid out. First thing a person's going to say, well, wait a minute. They adopted them, so that means they're getting less money. Why would they then forfeit some more money out their pocket if they're trying to hustle the system?
That part.
That part.
But then again, weren't they receiving other foster money for other kids?
For the other two. They got their own two biological. They had two besides the two that were missing.
Yeah.
So they're getting a stipend for the two, plus a lesser stipend for the ones they adopted. You get a stipend up until the age of 18 for the adopted children, because you did take care of them originally as foster children. So in the state of California State will give you a stipend for adopting the children. Ain't that a bitch? Excuse me.
California kicks it up. Yeah, California kicks it in.
See, California, in its own right, the government, you help aid the hustle game.
Yeah, they do.
Let's just keep it real, because it costs so much to live out there. They know it costs a lot of money to live out there. So guess what? They are already saying, hey, we got to give these people something. We got to give them more food stamps. We got to give them, because it costs more to live out there.
Yeah, it do. Man. And I'm just glad that they finally came to some form of conclusion. At least we know that this dude is going to be held accountable, and him and Jacqueline, they are responsible. Can't nobody, and I think, you know what I'm saying, he good. This fool, you know, and never once were they ever shown in any visual that they never said them boys' names. Yeah. They have never said their name.
That's what they do, John. In all the cases you've seen where eventually an indictment was brought down for a parent killing a kid, they never call their name. They never. It's always him, her.
Yeah.
Him, her, or like this couple. They talked before the news one day, and that was it. You got the bio mother talking to the news maybe 2 or 3 more times. His parents talking to ABC News, nightly news once. His brother jumping all on social media and that PayPal site or whatever, Patreon account, sending out, you know, bogus ass statements that didn't mean anything. Who the hell wants to pay for anything? I don't want to hear you tell me that you care for your nephews. Why would I want to pay to hear you say that?
The only other thing that I saw anything about these two was when they were at the supposed sex shop.
Yeah, and we don't even know if those are actual photos of them there. Because I asked somebody about that the other night.
That was disgusting.
We don't really have. Well, my thing is this: is it disgusting? They're grown.
Well, I mean, if your children are missing and your biological children are, you know, in the state's care.
Think about what you're saying. Think about this. You want us to believe that nobody is having sex with their partner because their child is missing.
Well, it's just, to me, it's in poor taste. I mean, I don't know. I just found that
that's why I said I don't even know if that was an actual photo or somebody rigged that to play a joke. You know what I'm saying? To be nasty to Jacqueline and Trezell. I don't have any receipts to that photograph.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Queen, for letting me up on the panel.
Oh, anything. You have anything else you want to say? So let me ask you this, because I want to really just stick to the title. Yeah. What is it in your mind you think that they have? Then I'll let you go.
I think that they have some kind of blood proof. I think that they have some information off their phones.
Okay.
And other than that, we'll just have to wait and see.
Okay. But thank you so much for joining us, sweetheart.
Thank you. God bless you.
You mean
God
like,
bless you, baby? Have a good week, baby.
Like things that they think they deleted, but you not really deleting anything?
Yeah. Well, you don't. You know what? That's the crazy part about this computer age and the cell phone age. You can delete messages all day of what Pookie sent you, Ray said. That don't mean nothing, because when they take that technician and he takes that deep dive down in that cell phone and that computer, every dirty picture, Google search, all that comes back up. That telephone's mean, is it not? Can't hear you.
Everything pop up.
Yes, everything pops up. Exactly.
So that might be, that might be a big part of it. They might have came up on something they got from, telephone records or something. They might. It could be anything.
Okay, but in those records, though, you'd have to be saying something. Who's going to talk? Yeah. She said ironclad. I'm not stupid enough to talk to you in a text message about killing no kid.
But they was dumb enough. They probably dumb enough to talk to one another verbally.
Okay, but verbally, how would you have that verbally?
On the phone.
I'm not going to record myself. Yeah, but you've talked. They're not going to have records of you talking on your phone. You understand what I'm saying? Thank you, Kinsley.
Yeah.
Kinsley, hit the link if you can, if you're not working, sweetheart.
Yeah, they wouldn't have that one, but they got something, and whatever it was, it's juicy.
It's so crazy.
Because it took almost 15 months for us to get to this part.
See, that's what bothers me.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming they were doing all the digital printing of the phones, the devices, iPads, that type of stuff. I'm assuming, that takes a while. Even in my right mind, I'm telling
that's time consuming.
Why does it take so long? But then I have to think about, too, the bigger the city, the more work a lab has to do, because California has a lot of people. California has a lot of homicides, missing people, yah. So you have to count how many people, personal evidence is going into the lab, being tested and diagnosed with technicians as far as phones and devices. Excuse me.
You gonna be on for a while, Queen?
Well, I'm already at 2 hours. They don't want to hit the link, so I don't want to just keep sitting up here talking. I've already, brought my information and my and the commentary and the press conference. I've played that information already. So
yeah, I'm in this 3 mile line of cars. I'm picking my baby up from school. So
okay. Oh, here comes somebody from out west giving their opinion. This is my mod, Kinsley. Hello, dear.
Hello.
How are you? How's the family?
You know what? We are finally getting back to
normal. Well, I'm praying for you. And what's the weather like out there?
Right now, it is about 84.
Woo!
I'm staring at my swimming pool, and I'm
well, it's warm here too. It's warm here in Tennessee. I popped the door open, and I was like, "Wait a minute! I'm in here doing a live. I need to step outdoors." All right, baby, chop it up. The evidence. What is it?
It's something good. It's got to be. I'm thinking some form of maybe. I want to say, my gut. This is going to sound disgusting.
Well,
but my
just
gut.
Be respectful. Just try to be respectful in wording.
No. I'm just thinking maybe urine, some sort of maybe excessive saliva.
Or sorbet, like the lady that had her daughter locked in the closet down there in Florida.
Yes.
And then she drove up to Alabama and dumped her. Well, when they went in that closet, it showed that she stayed in that closet while the mother went to work. They said the apartment, as soon as they opened the door, smelled of fecal matter and urine. And that's what was in the house, the apartment, and in the closet. They also found cans with a tiny hole where she was sipping through that hole, eating her food out of a fucking can. Man, I think about that.
It's
turn your background down, critical.
It's something.
I'm here, Queen.
Yeah, but you got to turn the background down, baby.
I'm thinking that they're coming for Grandma. It's a matter of time.
Okay.
There is no possible way that anybody in that family did not know that those boys went missing 3 months prior.
Yeah, I've talked about, me and Crystal chopped that up at the end of my live last night. And John, you still here? He's frozen. That was something we chopped up. What did he say to her? What did she say to him? Did they not question where the children were? What kind of relationship did he have with Wanda?
That's what I said.
Wanda often, because you got to remember, everybody don't have relationships with their parents. So we don't know if she saw the grandchildren often, what that lie he spun that the children were with her, the four. See, that would have been suspicious to the police, because the first thing I would have asked you is, well, you told the news that your 4 children or whatever were with the grandmother, but where were the other 2? See, you're caught right there. Your legs in the trap as soon as you say that.
Yeah, and even if, let's just say, grandma didn't see them often, once a month, once every few months.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, did he tell her, oh, we gave them back?
Yeah, I asked that last night. Crystal thinks that Wanda knows everything.
I think so too. And that's why
that's very scary.
The way that she was.
That nasty comment she made to that girl that drove by.
Yep.
And the girl said, "Where are the boys?" And she said, "At your house." I thought, woo, Wanda, you a cold bitch. You hear me?
What about when she told the other YouTuber that little riddle? You got it right.
Oh yeah, Crystal mentioned that. Crystal mentioned that last night too. God, you little West Coast folks, y'all stay in unison. That's the same thing Crystal said last night.
Yeah, that woman knows everything.
Well, chop that up for me. Chop that statement up to let the chat know what you think Wanda meant by that.
Let me tell you, the whole nurse's station talked about that riddle last night, and they probably thought I was batshit crazy.
Okay.
And basically, to me, it is, you got it right, but you got the wrong one, but you got it halfway right.
Okay, but who's the right? What did they get right, and what's the wrong one?
I honestly think Trezell's going to turn on her. And
turn on who? Jacqueline?
Yes. And I think he's going to say she did it. And
I covered it up. I finished it off by discarding the kids. Yeah.
And that's why she said, you got it right, but you got it wrong. But you got it.
Okay, but guess what? You think I'm going to sit here and let my child go under scrutiny with his wife? He's told me what happened allegedly. If I'm to believe what he said is the truth, I'm going to sit here and let my son go through that. I'm going to tell my son, hey, go tell those people the truth that wife did this, killed the kids, blah, blah, blah. You covered it up, because I don't want these people coming back with an indictment.
Yep.
Saying both of you did it, because in the end, the state can ring both of you up. It's not going to matter who did what, who beat the kid, who hid the kid. When you call 911, you put yourself in the position of lying and having knowledge thereof pertaining to the children. So therefore, you're not going to be able to weasel your way out going into court saying, well, this is the only part I did pertaining to the kids. It's too late, because when you made the 911 call, you fucked yourself.
Oh yeah, and if it was me and I was in that predicament, regardless of how old my children are, I would have took them by their arm and drug them down to where I needed to take them.
I told them this is going to backfire on you, because if any evidence ever comes up, they find those kids' bodies, your ass is going down, whether you put your hands on those kids or not.
I think Jamal knew also.
That's
why. That
her
is
mother?
why.
Wait, calm down. Her mother?
No, Jamal, the brother.
You think Jamal knew that he killed the kids?
I think he knew something, and that is why that SOB never brought it up on TV and used his platform.
Yeah, I mentioned that last night in the live too. Why did he use the NAACP platform? That's so very true. Critical thinking. Let me hear what you have to say right quick, honey.
Okay, well, I know for a fact that they're probably going to plead not guilty at court tomorrow.
Okay.
The reason why I say that is if the police are not out looking for the boys' bodies at this point, then it would be my assumption that they are not cooperating by answering any police questions in the last couple of days. And they've probably given no comment to questions to the police. And it's likely from the fact that we can't see any searches for recovery, or the police haven't mentioned any recovery of the body. So I can kind of put my bottom dollar on they will plead not guilty at court tomorrow. So I can give you that information. If we saw police out making recovery attempts of the bodies in the last couple of days, since we know there's been a grand jury indictment, then you could assume that they would be cooperating with the police. The police would have broken them down in interrogation over the last couple of days, got a confession out of them. The main aim of the police at this stage is to recover the boys. So if we don't see the police out making those attempts, we can kind of assume going forward that they're going to plead not guilty. Now, there's also a chance if they plead not guilty, in the UK, we call it a cutthroat defence, which means that each party will turn on each other to prepare their own defences. And that would probably be more in relation to the second-degree murder charge. So what you'll probably end up seeing play out, if we don't see any recovery of the boys, we can still assume through the criminal process that they're not cooperating.
So let me ask you this. Go ahead, finish.
Me?
You was going to say something about the defense attorney.
Yeah. The defense attorney's job, obviously, is to prepare a defense for their client. So each party's going to have a story. Now, I don't know too much of the background of this case like you know. So it piques my interest in cases like this when someone gets arrested. That's where my interest is piqued, and that's where.
So you never. So listen. So you never followed the story.
And I did, but not to the extent that you have the knowledge. But I have followed the story, but not as in depth. So I do know the story, but I don't know all the ins and outs. But I know enough to give an opinion.
So you listened to them talk about 3 months beforehand that they believe the children were dead. They have ironclad proof that the children were dead. That's my question for the video: is what is the evidence? Because some people want a body. Some state's attorneys want a body. The jury may want a body. And all it takes is one person to hang a jury with reasonable doubt. And that will be on the defense's part to say, hey, you don't have everything and you don't have enough to convict. And that may be what happens when they go to court. The defense attorney may say next week, 2 weeks, you don't have enough.
Yeah, Queen, I don't think that's going to happen because the police have had 14 months to prepare the case. So I think the fact that they have 14 months worth of case investigation and preparation would lead me to the opinion that it's gone to the grand jury. The police will be more than confident with what they've got, that they can get a conviction. There's no way they would proceed with this case without enough evidence to secure a conviction without.
I hear what you're saying. But I'm going on what happened here recently. All this information of 3 months beforehand, the children were gone. My understanding is that all that information, listen. All that information is just now coming out like as of recently, not a year ago.
Absolutely.
So what I'm wondering is somebody talking.
Could be the case. Absolutely. Yeah, that could be the case. All will be revealed, Queen. All will be revealed. We can only speculate as to what evidence they've got. But what I can say, it will be more than one piece of material evidence. They're going to have loads. Wait and see. They're going to have loads of evidence. They'll have primary evidence, which will be like your DNA evidence will be your primary evidence. There's no way they'll proceed with such a high profile case with any chance of not securing a conviction without the bodies if they didn't have some ironclad evidence where, like you said, Queen, that the material point you made of the fact that they have evidence that the boys were deceased 3 months prior to them being reported missing.
To me, it's very scary information to even say that. Just very
scary information. But obviously, the police have been able to pinpoint the material time of the crime. Let's just be straight, of the crime of second-degree murder. So we don't know what evidence they had yet. I think someone made a really good point in the chat earlier about it says a lot, that we can say a lot because it's a second-degree murder charge. And I agree that does say a lot. So what we can rule out, the police do not feel they have enough evidence to bring a first-degree murder case. So we can say from that there's no element of premeditation present that the police feel they have a case on. So it's going to be more probably along the lines of a second-degree murder would be a beating that led to a murder, possibly.
Right, that was mentioned.
I'm not saying that's what has happened, but I'm saying it's going to
no. I'm just saying they mentioned that's what's mentioned in the said indictment. That
yeah, and then
could have been willful neglect, cruelty done to the child, which led to a death.
Willful cruelty. So you can you can gauge from that it's going to be along the lines of something they've done to those children in terms of the way they were treating the children led to the death. Hence why it's a second degree and not a first degree murder charge.
Okay. All right.
Does that make sense?
Thank you. Anything else you want to say?
No. If you've got any questions, that's it really. We'll see them not guilty. We'll see them plead guilty, not guilty at court tomorrow, I'm sure.
Yes, I'm sure they will plead not guilty.
Yeah, unless in between now and tomorrow that we see on the news they have recovered or they are on recovering, they've gone to a location to recover.
Okay.
Don't see that before court tomorrow morning. We can almost guarantee that they are going to plead not guilty. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Really to bring that clarity. Well, Queen, nice to speak to you, Queen. I think you're amazing. Thank you.
So
all right.
Be careful. Bye-bye. All right, Kinsley.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, what do you think about what she had to say? Lord have mercy. What a mess.
I think all of our opinions are going to be a little different.
Yeah, of course.
I really think they got enough evidence.
Okay.
They had enough to take it to a grand jury.
Yeah. Well, my thing is, I've seen what happens in trials, period, with a body, without a body, eyewitness testimony. And I've also seen what happened down in Florida with Casey Anthony. They had a lot with that. And those people basically didn't pay attention to a damn thing those folks said in that courtroom. And eventually, that girl spun the lies on her parents as being involved. Baez ended up throwing the blame also on the utility worker that found the child in the bag. What's your background? Is that me?
I think.
So, anything can happen in a trial. That's what I'm always leery of. Especially right now when you say you don't have no bodies. I start to get worried. That's why I'm very curious to what they have.
My gut don't tell me that. I really feel like they got it in the bag.
Yeah. I'm not saying they don't have it. I'm just saying I'm wondering what they have, but I'm also knowing our system is flawed. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because let me tell you something. Let's keep it real. They've got to try to pick a jury. Remember that comes next. Have you seen how people acted with this case? The way they flocked to people, ride with the people, thinking they were innocent. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got people that think like that. Well, you don't know if one of those members you pick for the jury may be one of those thinkers, but they're not going to sit there and tell you, "Oh yeah, I've been following the case and I don't think they did it." They're not going to tell you that. They want to be on the jury.
But the other thing is look at it this way. They took 14 months? They took 14 months without a body to get enough evidence to take it to a grand jury.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying.
I
mean, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just saying I'm more curious what they have, and I'm worried. And I've just seen how things have played out in courts with the wranglings in the courtroom, just like the Scott Peterson trial. Right now, this man's been locked up for years. Why are we now seeing a hearing as I speak in California? This woman having to testify about being a juror that didn't tell that she was domestically abused, blah, blah, blah. This case should have been done years ago, and it was done.
Yep.
Somebody found out she had been abused, and now they brought all that mess back out, saying there's improprieties on the jury panel, and now this man could possibly get a fucking another trial.
They just want to waste the taxpayers' money. It's disgusting.
Like that.
It's disgusting.
you just don't really know how anything could jump off in a trial with the jury down the road during the trial. It's just like you think something is over. That's the point I'm making. You thinking it's over, then you look up years, 10, 20 years later. Here we come talking about, oh, I need a new trial. And it's like, excuse me?
So what do you think of this? Okay. I have a feeling that Walker was forced into his resignation because there's some sort of a cover-up. I think he knew more of the corruption part of it than meets the eye.
Okay, but I don't understand. How are you trying to tie this into the case?
How do I want to say it? Like maybe he knew that there was possibly corruption with, CPS, whether there is or is not. What if there was something that he was hiding? I think he was forced into that resignation.
Why would he be hiding? I don't understand. Because he stayed abreast on the story. It's not like he was incognito while this trial was on.
No, he wasn't incognito, but I just don't. Maybe it's just because he didn't have the resources that.
Yeah, you're talking about 13 people. Yeah, 13 people.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's true.
That's not a lot of people to work the case. Then you got to count, are these people qualified as detectives out of the 13 that were working for the police?
They're probably really, truly not qualified. They probably never have had that.
Let me tell you what I think's going on. I think out there where Cal City is, it's a dumping ground more than detective work.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think it's just a place that's spread out where people can dump people off, kill them, dump them, and then these people don't never know about it because the bodies haven't never been found. So they're just doing basic police work, a little burglary here, argument, domesticated situations, but not nothing major such as missing children or homicides. A lot of homicides.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's definitely true. I think we're going to learn a lot though in the weeks to come.
Yeah, you've got some background crunching in the background.
I know. I hear a lot of static. I didn't know if that was you or me.
Yeah, you want me to put you on the other line that way?
No, you don't have to. I'm gonna hop down. I gotta take my puppy to the vet.
Oh Lord.
So, it's just I tell my husband it's like.
Well, let me ask you this right quick. Do you think they're gonna plead guilty or not guilty tomorrow?
Not guilty.
Not guilty. You think they're gonna hold out through the whole trial, turn on each other? What do you think?
I think they're gonna go not guilty for a long time, and they're gonna flip on each other.
So right now is the time to flip, to ask for a separate attorney.
Did they
give a plea of who did what and didn't do what? This is the time to do that.
Well, it is the time to do it.
Not later. You don't wait later. You do it now.
No, you do it right now. But I wonder if they're going to private pay, for an attorney, or if they're going to go.
Yeah, I've asked that too.
With a court.
Well, the news information I brought today states they only have $2,000 in income. So I asked that question to the chat. Where is the income coming from? Why were they in that RV? Staying in that RV? How long were they in that RV? What have they been doing this whole year without any of their children? Were they allowed to see their children? Or what did the state tell them about their children, that they could get their children back? Have they complied with all the rules and regulations to get their children? And mainly, did the state say you can or cannot have access to the children? We're taking your rights away. So we don't know anything because these people have kept quiet the whole time.
I don't think they've seen their children.
Why you say that?
Because I don't think that they've had stability. Well, maybe they could do visitation, but I don't think.
Yeah, well, you're going to visit your kids at a municipal building or whatever to meet the kids.
Yeah,
it's not like
they very well could have had that type of visitation, but I don't think that they ever had any overnight visitation, or hell, they may not have had any, just because of the type of investigation that it is.
Well, let me ask you this: Do you think they wanted their boys back, or all of the children left, the two foster and their own kids?
No,
not even their own children.
No.
Not even their own
Just
children.
like those other trash asses over there in Tennessee. They don't want their kids back either.
Trash actors. Oh, I love it. That is so funny.
No, that nobody wants their damn kids back, it seems these days.
Somebody says in the chat, I think the adopted mother will say she was being abused. Also try to find not guilty.
You know what? That's a huge possibility. She may say that he threatened her life. Or he may say, she may say, hey, he had me under lock and key and I could never leave.
Yeah. I know he did something to the kids, but I was afraid to say anything because I was afraid he'd hurt me, find me. Then I didn't want to leave with the kids because we're married. Then they'd be putting out an APB that I stole my children. Oh, she can lay it on thick. She can know the law.
All I have to say is those balls in that house in California City, if they could talk. Because I think a lot has went down in that house in a very short amount of time. Yeah.
Very crazy. But thank you for joining me. I wish you could
You're so welcome.
chop it up more. You got to go, so that's fine. Thank you, sweetie.
Have a good one, guys.
Okay, prayers, honey. Bye-bye. All right, that's Kinsley. Sorry to cut you off, Kinsley. Didn't cut you that short. I'm already 2 hours and 20 minutes in. Not many people have spoken pertaining to this case, but as I recap this for you, Jacqueline and Trezell West are currently in jail. They have a hearing tomorrow. We will see if they decide to plead guilty or not guilty, if they have lawyers already hired, or if they will have public defenders. We will have to wait to see what will be brought forth as far as evidence inside of the trial. The DA has spoken, Ms. Zimmerman, and she's brought forth information pertaining to the children being deemed dead 3 months before the parents moved to Cal City with their other said children. And a lot of questions were asked during the press conference. I already relayed that in the earlier part of this live. You have to go back to the beginning of the video to get the commentary. But the thing that's interesting is that she couldn't give a lot of information. As you know, this is still possibly an investigation. Open investigation because you don't have the bodies. But let me make that clear during this live. No bodies have been claimed by law officials. So everything is on what they took to the grand jury for evidence. So what is the evidence? That is what my question is for this live this afternoon. What evidence, plural, do they have that they took to the grand jury to say, hey, this is what we have against Jacqueline and Trezell West to prove the children are dead? We have evidence that they were dead 3 months before December 21st, 2020. What is that evidence? Are we talking about semen, urine, soil, fecal matter, telephone conversations, text messages between the two outside parties? Who else knows that the children are dead? Who else knows where the children could be found, located? When did an outsider find out that the children were dead or foul play was done? What did Jacqueline tell her family, friends about the children's disappearance? Did she confide in somebody about the deaths of the children or the whereabouts of the children? Lied about where the children are? Trezell West, same thing. Did he ever tell Wanda and the father where the children are? What happened to the children? What did she ask him about the children? Did he tell the truth where the children are? Are we now talking about outside parties having evidence, material, knowing of the children being deceased, not returned back to the state? Common sense, it's not working out. With the children, send them back. Hey, sorry, we adopted them, but they're too rambunctious for our taste. We can no longer raise the children. Wouldn't that have been an easier fix than knocking off the children? Secondly, one could argue the hustle of foster care just for the money. Flip side of that coin will be they adopted the children. So what are you going to say? The children changed all of a sudden after adoption? They had them for a little while. What went wrong in that household to murder those kids? Will they tell the truth that they murdered the children? As I said, what will be the plea tomorrow in court? Will one of them flip on the other one, take a plea deal if offered by the state? He did this to me and my kids, blah, blah, blah. I fear for my life, my safety. I went along with the program to hide the bodies, woo, woo, woo. Or will he say, oh, it's all her. She did something. I just covered it up. I love her. She's my wife. Will the truth ever be revealed pertaining to the disappearance of these said boys? Who's going to tell the truth in court? Will we get a jury of peers to hear the information and render a guilty verdict. You have to think about all of that, especially now that there are no bodies. Will they be able to get an ironclad verdict of guilty against Jacqueline and Trezell West for the murders of these Cal City boys? Yes, a lot of questions. Scary questions. Are the children witnesses to any crimes committed by those missing boys? Did they kill the kids in front of the other children? Tell them to be quiet, hush, don't you tell anybody. Same thing will happen to you. Because what you have to tell yourself when you talk about favoritism, if indeed this is part of this plot, don't ever think a person would not kill the good child, good children. There's no such thing because they are diabolical. So for you to think they wouldn't kill the child that they like or children they like, yes, they would. I've brought you information on phallicide before in my commentary about 2 months ago. You can look it up, what phallicide means. Don't ever trust a parent that will kill their own child, children, or children in their care. If you kill one, you can kill all. Your mind is warped. There is no differentiating on which child, person, human I like or will kill, murder, torture. It's all the same. Your mind is warped. You're gone. If you kill one, you could kill another. If you want to hit the link before I check out of here, feel free to hit the link to bring me your commentary pertaining to this case. As I said, the two parents will go before the court tomorrow to render in a plea. What will they plead? What will they do? Will they turn on one another? Will they tell where the children can be found and located? Will one flip on the other? Will they have one attorney for both or separate attorneys? Will they hire an attorney? Very strange story, baffling story, chaotic story. A story that stemmed from many rumors and gossip and innuendos, and it probably will still be the same now. People had their opinions pertaining to what they thought happened to the children, human trafficking, bio donors involved, selling of the kids, bartering of the kids. But in the end, I always tell people you don't know anything until the truth comes out. And sometimes the truth is never revealed. And I'm wondering if we'll ever get to the bottom of what happened to the kids. Because I thought, like I said, that they had the children's bodies. But the one thing that bothered me months ago was finding out that they went to the bio donors to get evidence, DNA, but never revealed to the public that they found remains. So I thought, why would you be getting DNA, but you didn't tell the public of their remains? And now we know there are no remains brought forward in this case. Sadly, there are no remains. Just very sick story. And this story is no different than the story here in my own area of East Tennessee pertaining to Summer Wells, Robertsville, Tennessee. You don't know people. And for those of you who cannot understand the human mind, I actually pity you, feel sorry for you, that you can't accept the fact that a human being would kill their own child, kill a child that's in their care, kill a child that they sent for. Why can't you believe a human being would kill their own child? Every day there's a story in the news of a child missing and or deceased and or beat, tortured, raped, mutilated, neglected. And yet some of you say, I don't think they did it. They wouldn't have done it. How can you speak for a human that you do not know, never met? Why is it so hard for any of you to accept the fact that people killed their children? I've heard it with this case. I've heard it with Summer Wells' case. It had to be an accident. It had to be this. But yet the stories you see on the news show you that the people were beating their children, locking their children in cages, staircases, not feeding them. And yet you will still argue human trafficking and, oh no, they wouldn't do that to their kid. But yet the news shows ironclad evidence of willful neglect and abuse to children, which led to the death of a child. What are you confused about? Well, people are wicked. And that's the moral of the story. It's that you don't know people. And you cannot assume something that's already been proven since the beginning of time. Man and woman are cruel. They are greedy. They are thirsty. They are vultures. They are vile. And they will kill for whatever reason. They will cover it up and keep on walking by as if nothing ever happened. What are you confused about? I hear horrible stories every day, horrific stories of child abuse, death. So why would I be shocked that a parent killed their child in Rogersville, Tennessee, or a parent killed their child in Bakersfield, California? Cal City, what is the difference? There is no difference. What is the evidence? Plural. In this case against Jacqueline and Trezell West, do we have eyewitness testimony that will come forward to say they abused the children, neglected the children? Will we have doctor statements, non-doctor statements, fraudulent paperwork, missed phone calls, visits from the state to their house? What will be revealed in this trial? Probably a whole lot of things we never knew about Jacqueline and Trezell. And we will finally get a bullseye view into the secretive world of these two bums. And this is something they did not anticipate. It's part of a truth revealed to who they are, how they lived. It also states in the commentary that I brought you, the two did not have a criminal record at the time of arrest. So what led these two people down this path of murdering children and never been in trouble with the law? Don't have any major crimes against them by other civilians. How do you wake up one day and kill a child? Children. The fact you killed two children, that's been mentioned in the chat, shows to some people possible premeditation. But as I said, without a body, you're going to have to prove they deliberately killed the children to render a first-degree murder charges. Very, very sick story. Vile story. What is the evidence? Surveillance cameras running around the town without your children. Only 4 in tow, 2 in tow. Where are the other children? You see, you leave a digital blueprint everywhere you go from the time you put your foot outside of the front door. Somebody has a doorbell camera. Somebody has surveillance camera on a building, inside the store, outside of the house. You're showing up without 2 little boys. Where are they? What did you say? Rumors that they went to a party last year. The year before, without the children. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe somebody will testify to that in court. They came to the birthday party, but they didn't have the 2 children. What did they say? Let's say this is true. What did you tell them where your other 2 children were? How close is Mr. Trezell with his mother? Do they have a decent relationship? Would she hold the dirty truth of what happened to the children? Did she see the children often? Did she keep the children often? The lie he told to law enforcement and to the news that the 4 children were with his mother. Was that true? Did he actually drop his children off that Sunday when the neighbor showed the video footage? But we now know you could have included the 2 because now the state says the 2 were already dead in the fall, late summer. Very riveting case. Very riveting case. So everything that we thought finally has some type of conclusion. That the children were dead before ever making it to Cal City, number 1. The children were dead 3 months before the parents moved to Cal City. We also know that this woman 9 times out of 10 has committed state fraud with the Department of Human Services, state of California, probably receiving any type of funds for the said children. Now, the $1 million question, besides, where are the boys? What made Jacqueline and Trezell call 911? That will be my next live, pertaining to the disappearance of the Cal City boys and the indictment of murder charges against Trezell and Jacqueline West. They appear in court tomorrow. What will they plead? Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to donate to the channel, $BigAngie 129 Cash App. I'll super chat to welcome during the live. Thank you for the support. Welcome new subs, visitors. Thank you for coming in to tune into this network. Thank you for those who came on the panel. My next live will be pertaining to the 911. I may go on later, depends on my mood and what else I have to do. But I think now all those questions will come into play, such as people chopping up Summer Wells' case bit by bit, going back in time. Because as I tell you, everything you need to know is at the beginning of the story. And this story started December 21st. So now you have to ask yourselves, what was the motive for calling 911 December 21st, 2020, knowing you did not have the children in your possession, Jacqueline and Trezell West? Thank you for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans.